Thank you. Thank y'all for coming tonight.
We're close.
First item up for discussion is the septic tank inspection ordinance. Just quick history for folks in the room and watching at home. We're proposing some changes to our septic tank inspection ordinance. Right now, related to short-term rentals, we require all short-term rentals to have a inspection and full pump out of their septic tank every year before they apply for their annual short-term rental license. This has been on the books for a while. We have not been strictly enforcing it almost just as long. We've received tons of feedback over time that an annual blanket pump out requirement for all short-term rentals is not best management practices for septic tanks. So last month we proposed an amendment to step that baseline inspection that requires a pump out back to just a visual inspection and a pump out only if needed or indicated by the visual inspection. During the discussion, and I will defer to Mr. Rich to correct me if I'm wrong, we had a proposed amendment to limit that visual inspection to only ISTRs on a 5-year basis and then make it recommended for everyone else. Council debated that back and forth, and there was some discussion about whether or not the visual inspection should be applied uniformly across ISTR, OSTR, and residential, and what the appropriate interval was. So we postponed action, reached back out to our septic engineer experts in DHEC or DES. Thank you guys for coming. And so they're here tonight, and we've got their responses in blue. So they're here tonight to help you guys decide on the appropriate inspection intervals and the applicability across use types.
So, thank you so much for coming tonight. I do appreciate it. So, as Aaron said, we're trying to get a idea of what the baseline is. Right now, we're dealing off of an assumption that was not best science, which is the yearly pump out. So, in your estimation, with the ISCR is of Airbnb basically. OSCR would be like 72 days of rental activity per year. So, based on that, do you see it? Should we handle both of those the same as far as visual inspections and that type of thing? What is y'all's recommendation there?
We don't really have any kind of regulation to stand behind. I mean, we're always going to be supportive of any kind of preventative actions, but with those kind of situations, we're going to kind of counter that back to the municipality to see.
Would a visual every year be, I mean, as a baseline and a pump out as needed? What are y'all's impression of that?
Couldn't hurt.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to, the hope behind that would be that it would catch something before, or you know, it would catch a small problem before it became a bigger problem.
The usual science for pumping out a septic tank, a regular residential septic tank, is 3 to 5 years. But seeing how you've got, you know, you'll have a 4-bedroom house with 12 people in it, you know, you have a chance of extending the system if it was only designed based off number of bedrooms. So that may be a good thing to, you know, do the visual inspection. If it looks like it needs a pump, go ahead and have it pumped out.
Mayor, this is Thomas from On-Site Septic Engineering. He's a professional engineer that specializes only in septic systems.
Okay.
His company, along with his partner, have done more than most of the newer septics out here because most of them are having to switch to engineered systems as we progress through time.
I apologize for not introducing our DES reps. You guys want to let these guys know?
I'm T. Thompson. I'm the field specialist and customer service section manager.
I'm Tim Kinney. I'm the division director for on-site wastewater permitting.
And I'm Thomas with On-Site Septic Engineering. And for the ISTR and OSTR, we would kind of say, generally, we would group those together. They're both still rentals, they're gonna have heavy use, just people coming in and out, a lot of activity. So we would kind of cluster those together. And I think generally we thought the 1 year visual, probably a good thing to do. Like T said, with the number of people, you know, a normal house, you're not gonna be there for 12 hours a day. In an Airbnb, in a vacation rental, it's gonna see a lot more activity, a lot more in and out the door, a lot more usage. So probably not a bad thing for the visual.
One of the things that came up last conversation was that we've only had like 1 or 2 failures a year, but same token, we've also pumped out every tank every year. So in that kind of scenario, that's probably a predictable outcome. Is that a good assumption? The fact that we're pumping every tank every year probably prohibits them from failing, I guess is my point.
I'd say it doesn't hurt them.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get the
Yeah.
science behind it.
Yeah, it prevents any solids from getting into the drain field and causing big problems. Yeah.
But
You
we-
guys are blessed with really good soils too.
Yeah, but we all recognize that pumping out every year is not the best practice, and it's expensive.
I was wondering if Thomas could speak to the fact that there's two different systems out here, and traditional systems are on the decline, and engineered systems are going up over time, just because of the way nature is working out here on the island. But it's my understanding that the engineered systems come with a DHEC mandated requirement for every 6-month maintenance initially for a couple of years, I believe. I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm quoting that right.
Yeah, depending on the system type for engineered systems, if they have any sort of additional mechanical components, they're gonna get inspected every 6 months anyways. So it's gonna be in addition to whatever you guys have as far as those items go.
Is that indefinitely, or is there?
Yeah, it's indefinite for particular types.
So would it make sense to accept one of those six, certainly if one of the engineered systems was failing, there would be no need to require these people to get a visual inspection if it's coming under somebody's eyes every 6 months.
Correct. It would already, you would say that it's already covered in that inspection. You wouldn't need an additional inspection beyond what you're already doing.
Do you mind if I jump in?
No, I'd love for you to.
So, one is, one of our more vocal residents said she contacted some septic tank pump out people, and they didn't know what a sludge judge was. And they had no idea what visual inspection meant. Would that be, is that a common, is that something common to the industry? Should she get new professionals, or is it a relatively new?
No, it's not. A sludge judge is very, you
Yeah.
can take it back further, but a sludge judge is very simple. It's a clear pipe that you use to see what's clear and what's not clear in the tank. Now, a lot of pumpers probably use a little more rudimentary tools to do the same inspection, so maybe you don't have to specify the exact means and methods of how you do the visual inspection. We probably don't want to get into the individual specifics of how they might check it, but there's other ways that you can just get a pretty close idea without a sludge judge. They're not the easiest things in the world to deal with, and they're kind of nasty.
So OSTR gets rented 72 days, usually during the summer.
Yep.
And it gets used heavily, and, you know, just, a lot of people pile in, a lot of people in the house 12 hours a day, and they use a lot of water, and they use a lot of stuff. And, but if you don't inspect it during that time, and you do your annual inspection in October, does the system, does the sludge accumulated during those 72 days pile up and remain in the system? Or in 3 months, you would never know that the system was failing or close to failing in prime time? Does that make sense?
I would say that there wouldn't be a big difference whether you're inspecting it right there in the middle of heavy usage or 6 months later. I'd say it's gonna go, the volume of the sludge or items would decrease for sure, because it's gonna be getting decomposed somewhat. But, so it will decrease and it'll go down a little bit, but it's not gonna, I don't think you're gonna miss something. You're not gonna miss a failure occurring if you're looking at it every
So
year.
an almost problem, an almost failing system, or a problem likely to occur next year could be obtained in October or November, even after the property is not rented since the 1st of August.
Yeah, you would see it. If it's still getting used, typically the indicator for a failure, they're gonna look at the outlet of the pipe in some way or the next to see if it's at a proper level. If your levels are improper, they're gonna remain improper, and they'd be able to see it. Or there's gonna be wet spots in the yard, there's gonna be, you know, little sand boils in the yard where there's obvious overuse and the drain field's struggling to let the water go down, so it comes up. So I would say it'd be tough to hide it. If it's starting to fail or failing, you're gonna see it. Or your residents are gonna know it, because they're gonna, you know, in that time, if it's
Neighbors
starting to
will-
struggle.
yeah.
Yeah, your neighbors.
I'm just concerned that if
If it doesn't even back up in the house to that point.
That's where I was gonna go with it, yeah. If it's starting to slow up, it's gonna back up in the house.
Okay. I was just thinking if the problem only manifest during the heavy use and then self-corrects, it'd be pointless to inspect because everybody would do it just before they rent it or just after, or well after they rent it.
Yeah.
And then we're just wasting everybody's time.
For most people, I would say it would behoove them in some light to get it done anyways.
Right.
I mean, it's $200 to get a
Sure.
tank inspected, and if, for them, you know, if they end up having a problem when they've got a family there for a week, their reviews are gonna be pretty rough. It's-
An ounce of prevention is always worth a pound of cure until you ask people to pay for the ounce of prevention. And
Well, the number we have, I think Eric got this maybe from you, like for a pump and an inspection combination, it's about $600 to $750. Just to visually inspect, you're only looking at $250 to $300.
That'd be about right.
So you're looking at a savings of maybe $300, $400
Yeah,
per year.
yeah, pumping's about 40 cents a gallon.
And the way we've written this is if you only pump it when you fail the inspection, so.
And Mayor, I did check with another septic company, not these guys, they were right in line, and they knew what a sludge dutch was, and they thought it was a good idea. And they do a lot of the maintenance out here, you see their trucks out here every day.
Thank you for not bringing this sludge guy into. Y'all have any questions, Clay?
I'm good.
I mean, I have a few questions. I did not realize, and I definitely don't have the language, so there's a traditional system out here and sort of a drip system. Could you, I didn't know that level of detail, that we had diverse ways, I guess. So could you just cover that a bit in layperson's terms?
Yeah, so a conventional system, to simplify it, a fully conventional system, there's pre-approved sections for designs in the regulation. If you meet those pre-approved sections, DES can just issue you a conventional permit. If you don't meet those pre-approved sections, you have to get an engineered system. We can design a multitude of different options. It might just need a little bit of extra, it might need to be elevated a little bit and still be conventional aggregate. It might need to be elevated a lot and still be conventional aggregate, or it could be a pre-treatment system, which you have a septic tank where all your solids remain, and then downstream of that, you have some order of treatment component that occurs. And there's lots of different ways to do it, but it ultimately reduces the strength of the waste, and then it is pressurized out through drip tubing, which is like irrigation drip tubing.
And so would you happen to know, or we happen to know how many of those systems we have?
I do
We
not-
would know, okay.
We don't have the data anymore.
Okay, and the other one, is it called drip?
That would be the type, the treatment system would typically be dispersed through drip tubing.
Okay.
what some people call engineered.
Yeah, there's a multitude of different systems that fall under the engineered category, but a lot of people, when they hear the phrase engineered, they're thinking of a pre-treatment drip dispersal system.
That's,
I know different levels of water, both groundwater, surface water, and surge water. Different septic systems in different locations, would they react differently? And, okay, and
Everything would react differently.
so it depends on where they are.
Yeah, so the benefit to the drip tube systems,
Okay.
the drip, however you wanna call them, is they're gonna be typically on a timer dose. So they're not just gonna water in, water out. So they're gonna be on demand. You can extend that dose across a duration, 24 hours, let's say. So while you're asleep, your system can be dosing out. So if you do have a big surge of water, like a king tide comes in, and you're near the beach, and the groundwater comes up, this system.
And it rains.
And it rains, yeah, together. Those systems help to kind of slowly release the water.
How about regular systems? They're unengineered. They just float to the top and take it to the surface, or what?
They shouldn't, because they should be elevated up above where that seasonal water would ever come.
What is there, 2 or 3 feet below the surface minimum?
It depends on the depth of your seasonal high water table. We have a minimum setback of 6 inches. And that's at first occurrence of certain colors in the soil that are indicators of the seasonal high water table. But of training throughout the state, training a lot of folks down here on the coast, we've also trained them to, especially on the coast, be a little more conservative and use, and we've look at certain colors. The grays are what by regulation, we can deny a system based, or deny a lot based off of. But when we get into sandier soils, there are studies have shown that the red colors, which are precursors to the gray, form at the same amount of time in the sand than a gray and a clay does. So we've taught them that they can design off of reds, just don't deny off of reds. And so we even, a lot of times, they're shallower than where the regulatory water table would be. And so we try to teach them that down here just to make sure there's an extra safety factor in this area.
Thank you.
The only other question I have is, and I've just struggled with it because it's hard to quantify in the sense, it's really about volume. So let's just say I had a short-term rental license, and it's one bedroom, as opposed to, so the other thing that I just want to recognize is that it may not be 12 people, and so on and so on and so forth. And I'm not even sure how fair we can be about it.
But wouldn't
You
the
have-
tank scale with the house? I guess that's my question. I'm not jumping in.
Oh, yeah, no.
But does you can answer that. So the tank has to match the bedrooms, correct?
Yes.
So I think that's where that volume would kind of.
Our regulation says up to 4 bedrooms on a 1,000-gallon tank, and any bedroom above that, it adds another 250 gallons to the septic tank.
Right.
So bigger house, bigger tank.
Right. However, then, that's interesting, so the visual, regardless of the size, regardless of whatever, the general price is 250 and 300, well, straight
Well,
up.
it depends on how much you have to pump out.
Well, I'm talking visual.
Just
No,
visual, yeah.
I'm talking visual,
Yes,
it doesn't matter the size, visual, that's a consistent pattern. The only other question that I had, because we talked about in the past, we wanna prevent, however, when it occurs, it might be one a year. Do we ever, as a city, do we have any data, or maybe not, that other people would notice it, such as citizens? Is there a mechanism for complaints, let's say?
Usually that's how we track them. I don't think we've ever discovered one on our own.
That's what I wondered.
Comes
Okay.
from a neighbor or a guest at the house that calls in the city to complain.
So they do the visual inspection.
No, they do the.
No, I mean, in theory, someone visually sees the soil, sees this, sees that.
Or they smell it.
It's,
But they see
oh,
it
smell it,
after.
okay, so what I'm saying is some human being that's not, it says, woo-hoo, okay, warning, you get a complaint as the city, and then we respond, okay.
That's how we generally find out about it.
But the failures are,
Yeah, usually after it fails,
Yeah.
we get the complaint.
is it fairly sudden? I mean, you're good, and fail, or is that kind of, I know it's a slow thing, but if you're not paying attention week to week as a rental, they wouldn't have any kind of benchmark, I guess, is my question.
Tough one to answer. I would say it's likely not gonna be all of a sudden.
Okay.
It's likely gonna be something that
Cumulative.
you start noticing when you have a full house for 3 weeks in a row, the last person complains.
Yep, but what I'm saying, though, if you're the last person that rented, that you don't know what happened the previous 2 weeks, so you don't really have anything to compare to.
Correct, somebody could be pouring grease down the drain the whole time and cause an issue in the drain field, and the people come in behind them and don't, and the grease gets into the drain field and causes a malfunction. I mean, there are a lot of different variables there.
Just for clarification for me, so actually, the complaint is after the fact, after the catastrophe or whatever, after,
That's been my experience in the last 16 years. When effluent is running down the driveway
Got it.
or it's piling up somewhere in the yard.
right, got the visual.
We go into the kind of reaction mode at that point.
I understand, thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, when y'all said the engineered systems have like every 6-month inspections, who tracks that and who sets that up? If we don't have, you said we don't have to worry about it because there's other methods, so how do we know it's being done?
This is the homeowner's responsibility to ensure that they do that.
And that's a DHEC regulation or DES?
So if they don't,
DES puts the onus on the homeowner.
so they have to schedule it every 6 months, and if they don't, then what happens?
If they don't, typically in about 1.5 years to 2 years, their system will start to fail.
But
And it'll start backing up.
who's enforcing that is the question.
Yeah.
Where is the enforcement?
There's
So
no enforcement
The due
on
diligence
guys.
is on the side of the owner, right? So there is no enforcement per se.
Dr. Holliday, that's what we're trying to do here. basically by making people come and prove.
Yeah, I understand that, but right now, there's not a gauge per se, so.
Yes.
In any
I
municipality.
understand your question.
In any municipality.
There is enforcement when there's a malfunction.
Right.
That is when
After
DES
the
will
fact.
step in and, will give, a very short period of time for them to come into compliance. But that compliance measure on our part is to stop the discharge. So, with something of that sort, we're not telling them how to fix the problem. We're just telling them, you've got to cease the discharge to the surface of the ground.
You guys aren't actively monitoring who is and who's not doing their 6 months on the engineered system.
Most of the
That's my
time,
question.
what we get back is, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but what we get back is, for example, somebody would come back to Thomas's company and say, hey, I'm your customer, or I bought this from a builder, and I have this engineered system, and I need to file, say, like a warranty claim. And Thomas is gonna look and say, well, have you been doing your maintenance? Because most of the maintenance is requirements coming from the manufacturer of those advanced treatment. So that's kind of, that safeguard is.
And every one of the advanced treatment units has a different maintenance schedule that they would have to do, whether depending on the media filter that's used and the type of system that they have.
And just real quick, so the way that they're set up, they have some fail safes. So they have some filters and some things that purposefully cause it to stop doing what it's supposed to do, so that you don't have a catastrophic failure. So,
The alarm goes off, the
The
red
light
light goes
goes
on.
off.
so it's trying to get past this really thin filter. And if you don't do your maintenance, your really thin filter's gonna clog. And when your really thin filter clogs, your system starts to back up. Well, the worst that happens is it backs up on you, right? So it hasn't failed your drain field, it hasn't gotten past this guy. So when that happens, typically we get the call and they say, hey, I need you to come look at it. Well, have you done any maintenance? No. Okay, you can go clean the filter, flush the lines pretty quick. And 90% of the time, it is resolvable with relative ease. And to the maintenance question, for the most part, it behooves the homeowner to do it. And if they don't do it, again, they should have this type of event where this minor failure occurs, they get an alarm, somebody comes out and says, hey, this happened because you haven't been doing your maintenance, where someone comes and cleans this filter every 6 months for you. Here, let me offer you that service. And then the homeowner goes, holy crap, I don't want this to happen again when renters are here. Yeah, no pun intended.
But the majority of the systems on Folly are the traditional systems, am I correct? Or is it half?
Yeah, I would say the majority.
It's changing.
There's a lot.
Do you
Yeah,
even allow
rapidly over time.
Eric, do we allow non-engineered systems that are being installed for the first time to be, I'm sorry, yeah, non-engineered systems, do we allow those to be
We
installed?
allow whatever.
We
they-
mandate they're engineered?
No, we allow whatever DHEC will permit,
Okay,
because DHEC permits them either way.
okay.
And as long as they can get a
So
DHEC
we're
permit,
following the rules. then.
DES permit, I should say.
Most individuals are gonna try for that non-engineered system.
Because it's less
initially.
expensive.
Unless if it's just something that they know is, either it's a developer that's done some homework and they know
Right,
the
right.
soils are not suitable for that.
Sure, because properly sized, you only pump it out every 5 years,
3 to 5.
whereas you got him coming out every 6 months on the engineered, so it's gonna cost you more up front and more to keep going.
That's right.
And more expensive to start.
I mean, our traditional system is the gift that keeps giving.
One thing-
If the soils are suitable.
One thing we see out here over time is when you get a new permit, even if there was an old traditional system at some point, you go to re-permit, the standards and setbacks have changed a lot. Now you can no longer get a conventional system, you gotta switch. So we see that going on.
Or you want the house to be bigger, so you need more land and
Don't
smaller
have a
footprint.
drain field.
Anything else for these guys? All right, well, thank you so much for coming, we appreciate your time.
So there's a second part to this ordinance that we need to wrap up, tonight. And so if you look on page 9, when we talk about, visual inspections, page 9 of the work session, sorry. There's no penalty language. The amendment the ordinance as proposed last month did not include any beefed up penalty. And again, I will defer to Mr. Rich for his intent. If you look on page 11, there is a beefed up penalty. And what's drafted as a proposed amendment is that if you fail to do the inspection and repair required in the chapter, and you are convicted, you have a variety of penalties. Right now, the penalty as exists in the code is up to and including termination of water services. This would tie it to some penalties to the STR license if there was one. So up to and including termination of water services, 1-year suspension of associated licenses, an assessment of costs incurred by the city to any necessary environmental remediation, and a civil fine. So if you guys want to amend the penalty, which right now is up to and including termination of water services, and include STR license effects as a penalty, that also needs to be discussed and amended from the version that was proposed last month.
It covers most of what we discussed. I did think there should be different levels. Once there is a breach or a problem, you get a strike, and if you don't do anything about it, you can get suspended or revocation. But the way it's written kind of gives us the leeway, so if it's a minor problem and they find it real quick and they fix it, and they could I do think we should add strike and revocation to that. Because depending on how egregious it is, if it's, a 1 on a 1 to 10, okay, they get a strike. But if it's big and they don't fix it and then there continued to be a problem and push the envelope, then it does give us the ability at the end to revoke the license if they're not gonna take care of the problem. So I would like to see those two put in there. We just, we talked about all that last month. That gives us different levels, for different levels of failure.
It's up to and including, it doesn't mean automatic suspension.
Right, no, it's just,
Who decides?
I would like to spell it out, but I think just to make, for the way it's written now, the easiest way would just be to put, include up to, penalties include up to and including. If we just list them in there, put them in order, I think that'd be fine. That way, it kind of gives administration the leeway, like, well, this was real easy, they found it quick, they self-reported, okay, we can just give them a fine. If they, didn't and it keeps going, they've got different levels for different levels of infraction. We don't exactly know what the levels of infraction are.
The judge or a hearing officer or?
Yeah, I was gonna say, can I ask, cause right now, and we had this happen last year with a short-term rental, their septic system failed, so they received a citation, they were found guilty of it, so they received a strike. So, if that's still, like, if they receive a citation, you're saying they would still receive a strike?
They would receive a strike. I mean, it would give the judge some more leeway if they came to the judge, for the fine. But then they still haven't fixed the problem, or they're trying to, oh, I didn't do that, trying to hem and haw. It gives the judge several levels of options.
So if the judge dismisses it because they fixed the problem, then there would be no strike associated, but.
I think that there would be a mandate given, like, look, I'm sorry, any infraction, if there's any breach at all, they're getting something. They're not just getting dismissed, they'll at least get a fine or something, they're not getting away scot-free. But if they want him all, it just gives them different levels depending on how the situation went. That's kind of, leave it up to the judge a little bit to decide the
So right now it says,
severity.
so if they were fined, say the judge gave them a lesser fine or whatnot, that receives a strike. So that's what I'm asking. So
Well, even if
no matter what the fine is, if it's reduced because they did fix it or whatnot.
That's what I brought up last
still-
time, yes, I think it
yes,
should be
they
an automatic
still
strike.
receive-
Yes.
And then anything else goes to the judge for anything further.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah,
But we can administratively give strikes, right? We don't have to.
No, we can only give a strike
No, it's gotta
if
be
they go to
adjudicated
court and they're
guilty.
found
So the
guilty.
entire strike structure in the rental ordinance is based on conviction for the underlying offense.
Yes.
And so this would be a departure from that, saying, it doesn't matter if you're convicted of violating the ordinance, if your septic tank fails, you get a strike. And so that's why there's a difficulty in making an automatic strike, because that's not how all the other strikes are. All the other strikes are based on citation and conviction, and also with the judge, since these are heard by a judge, we can't say to the judge, you can't dismiss it,
You gotta give them a strike.
the judge, it goes to the judge.
And just to be clear, the judge can only issue a fine. Right. He can't give strikes, he can't suspend business licenses.
We do
Just-
that after the conviction.
Yes, I just wanna make it clear on that. Judges' penalties are limited by.
So-
I think that kind of makes it easier.
It's-
Because the judge just does the fine, and once they get it, we could say, okay, it's definitely, you know, at least a strike, that's gonna be a strike. If they hem and haw and keep going, okay, then that's a suspension or revocation. We still have the severity of punishment to be determined on the severity of the incident.
So if it models the system that we said, the judge has the capacity to do right now 500, which is in this, or say, I don't know, whatever the judgment is, right? So then that's it. And then administratively, it goes back to you all to make a decision amongst yourselves. They were compliant, da-da-da-da, ba-ba-ba-ba. I mean, is that what we're saying is?
No, I mean, if there is a fine, period, if the judge gives a $100 fine, that's considered guilty and they get a strike.
Great, okay, so automatic. So that's automatic. So then, some of the other things, let's see. So it's a strike. So if we said, so how egregious would it have to be to have my water turned off? I mean, that's just a question.
You lose all your rentals probably.
Well, I'm saying
makes
as
the
far
house
as your,
uninhabitable.
sorry?
It makes the house uninhabitable. You
Right,
can't-
that's what I mean.
And just to note, termination of water service is how the ordinance is currently written.
You know, we could just say, the first infraction, you get a strike and a fine. If there's any future infractions, there's revocation of your license, either suspension or revocation.
And it's up
Just
to.
keep it simple like that.
and- yeah, so-
I'm thinking-
Make it a second offense thing is revocation, suspension or revocation.
And that would kind of mirror how we do the strikes now. Your first strike is essentially a warning, and your second strike is a fine. And your third
This is
strike-
one of the bigger items that, you know, if there's a problem, we got a big problem.
So we could amend the strike section in the rental code to address septic tank strikes with the escalating penalties.
Yep.
If there was ever a need for a strike, this is it.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Just in theory, if you were dealing with a home that was not a rental, did not have a business license,
Right.
would we still have a different avenue?
Would that be this penalty here, a termination of water
Yeah.
service is how it's written right now.
We don't
Right.
take it out.
So
Right.
I feel like we're compelling people to fix the problem.
I mean, the sentence is subjective as written, but there should be some accommodations given to a neighborly action to tell folks to fix it. If they turn a blind eye, they're on their own.
So would you guys agree then that for the septic ordinance language, it could say penalties up to including termination of water services or strikes against the rental license, period, and then we amend the rental ordinance to say strike one septic, strike two septic, strike three septic with the escalating penalties in the rental ordinance for septic strikes.
That would give
That
you
makes
some-
Yeah,
logical.
I'm good with
That's
that.
completely logical.
I would like to keep the assessment of cost in there,
For all of it.
if we have to clean it up.
Yeah, it's incurred by the city.
That's for non-rentals, anybody.
Yep, anyone.
So are we gonna, how's that gonna work for tonight?
We'll have to, first we'll need a motion to accept the language for visual inspections applicable to ISTR, OSTR, residential, and the timeline, whatever you got to say. And then we need an amendment to amend section 55.08 to read something along the lines of, upon conviction, violators shall be assessed penalties up to including termination of water service and penalties against the rental license, period. And then we'll need a new ordinance to amend the rental ordinance to come back next month with the rental septic strikes.
All right, one more thing while we got these guys here. In their note to us, there are no SCDES certified contractors. So I have them in my notes, there's like 5 or 6 spots where we should change contractors and pumpers with valid SCDS licenses to licensed septic system contractors.
And correct me, it's not, y'all don't have licensed inspectors, you have licensed contractors. So,
You do have licensed contractors, so that,
so those, all those amendments,
And the contractors can do inspections.
so we did put amendments in here to strike out the word inspectors and put contractors.
okay, so everything, because they wrote that over and over and over again, that they do not license or issue approvals to individuals. So we're still good with that current language, we don't have to change any of that,
You
is
guys
what you're saying.
licensed contractors, not
We're
inspectors.
changing,
We license
We
contractors.
change inspectors to contractors, okay.
In South Carolina, there is no such thing as a certified inspector.
So we are proposing to change all the inspectors to contractors.
So that's in there now,
That makes
so we're looking for a,
We already did that.
okay.
Thank you, guys.
thank you so much. for
Thank
being
you.
here.
I
Yeah,
mean,
appreciate it.
Very much.
You the written information prior was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next item for the work session is a new proposed ordinance that we're asking to be remanded to the planning commission that would require private parking lots on the beach to post their hourly and daily rates. If you check the date of the memo on page 12, it's from July 2025. That's not a typo. We actually brought this up in July 2025 and introduced it as a topic for further discussion, and then it kind of fell off the list. So we're bringing it back for you guys' consideration, and if you agree to remand it to the planning commission. Basically, every summer, we get at least a handful of complaints. If I pulled into a private parking lot, I left, my bill was $150, what happened? So we'd just like to codify in the zoning ordinance that commercial parking lots are required to prominently display the current hourly and daily rate, either through a physical sign, or a lot of these new parking lots, you just scan a QR code. So they would have to have that information prominent on the digital landing page. Their website or wherever the QR code takes you would have to have the current rates.
It would be hourly, only if applicable, right?
With that being added in there, can we, I know we're gonna remand this to planning. Can we ask them to really discuss that point? Because in my mind, it should be posted, whether it's electronic or not. There should be a sign saying at the lot when people pull in, what the price is, at least some sort of accurate range. And I mean $10 to $100. Something that's accurate for that day. Because one of the complaints that we're hearing is that, people pull into a lot that doesn't have any pricing up. They get their kids, they get all their stuff out of the car, all the stuff, then they go to the kiosk and find out how much it is. And they're aggravated about it, but they're not gonna put all their stuff back, load up and move, because they've already gone through that. So that wouldn't fix that problem, is my concern. We're still hoodwinking people a little bit by not putting it right in front of them when they first enter.
It needs to be right in front of
Yeah,
them.
we can definitely just include that in the note to the planning commission.
Yes.
Right, this is early feedback from council.
Right. Yeah, okay.
We're still remanding it though.
Yeah, well, it's a zoning issue, so.
Yeah.
Right. Final item for the work session, it's kind of a broad title, I know, it's beach franchise and other beach activities. So this is just for some outstanding concerns related to the beach chair and umbrella rental franchises, and also we're gonna talk just briefly and start with some non-franchise commercial activity points. We've got second reading tonight on an ordinance that will change the approvals for annual surf camp lessons, to set a tiered pricing structure for the number of students for surf lessons. At the same time, we have a few folks who've been on the agenda for approvals for surf lessons. So I'd like to ask council that we postpone any further approvals for surf lessons until after tonight, when this ordinance passes second reading. Otherwise, they'd have to come back. And then just to carry that a little further, we have 5 non-franchise spots on the beach, and we have 7 providers already approved this year. And that's in addition to our 4 franchise surf camps. At some point, as we get more applicants, we're either gonna have to identify new spots or put a cap on the number. So I'd like, as part of the discussion, maybe before we approve new surf lessons, is decide if we want to not approve anymore because we've got 7 people in 5 spots, or if we need to identify 4 more spots where we could put new vendors. And another thing is, we used to do this as an annual approval. So as applicants came in through the year, we said come back in February. That's where we do it all at once to kind of handle everyone. I think as long as we continue to do it one-off, we may be getting several of these every month. Having a firm cap and number of spots might kind of stop that. We can just say we're full. But also to consider if we want to switch back to we approved this once in February and it's good for the year, no matter how many spots and providers we get. So if you guys would agree, later when it's time to amend the agenda, I would ask that we postpone surf lesson approvals and then have that discussion briefly maybe at the work session next month.
I like where you're going, and I think we need to get back to the once-a-year approvals for these, and we're gonna have to limit it at some point. I think honestly, we're at the point now where it would probably be fair to say, we're just now getting these rules figured out. Let's see how that goes this year. So we're gonna almost put a moratorium on accepting any new ones for until February. And then let's see how these new guidelines go with our current, beach non-franchise people. And then once we get to, December, we can kind of look at it and say, okay, how many do we have? What did it look like out there? Can we open up a few more spots or not? And then we can figure out a number before they even come up there. Like, okay, we're gonna cap it at 10 total between yoga and surf, just to keep them from off each other. I also think, and I heard from somebody, there's still a lot of illegal activities going on, and it's very hard to catch them. One of the thoughts that popped into my mind while we're talking about this tonight was maybe if they're an approved non-franchise, they have a sign out there, like while their camp is out there, there are people, they have a sign up saying that their name or something that they're approved. So maybe we can get beach patrol to kind of help, since they're the ones that go up and down the beach all the time. Hey, if you see a group without a sign, ask them. And if they're, that way, if they're illegal, shoo them off, write them a ticket, send them to us, whatever the case may be after that. But that might be an easy way to help get some of these, the people, the fly-by-night people are just doing it for, because they can, to get them out of there, because that'll add to the chaos. People will think, oh, we've approved all this, and we haven't approved half of it.
I actually agree with everything DJ said.
I do, I do too.
How long's it been?
I do too.
Would that extend, I know we're talking about surf lessons, would that extend also to yoga and any other?
Yoga, any
business
non-franchise
activity,
beach business, yeah.
exercise and,
They could use
We
it as a
talked a lot
branding
about not
opportunity.
commercializing the beach.
Yeah.
We bent over last time in approving non-franchises.
Yeah.
We approved people that didn't even come to the meeting, and we got people to agree to co-locate, and we did everything, and I just think now's the time to say, we've got enough out there
Well,
now, let's
yeah.
figure this out. and-
It ought to come down to a boilerplate of all the applicants at one time a year. And more importantly, you're absolutely right, we will lose track in terms of how many people or how many groups we're approving, et cetera. But it's also not fair to the current franchises, non-franchises that are out there that are competing against all these people too. I mean, early bird got the worm, right? They came and they knew surf lessons were gonna occur in May, and they came in February. Okay, well, they should be rewarded for that. There should be a one-time a year looking at this, and that should be it.
Okay, I just need some clarity then, Mr. Pope. It was the way we did it a few months ago, it was a rolling process. Correct or incorrect, in the sense of, did we lock down that this, this is it, no more? Was it more of a rolling, that's my question.
Historically, we did it once and we told everyone else
That's
to
the
come back
history.
next year. This year, we approved some, and then a month later, more people applied, and they came and they were granted permission.
Yeah, so that's the history I remember, so that we did it a one shot, and then we did it sort of two-tier, let's say.
Yeah, but to Mr. Farley's point, I mean, the good news here is that we did try to make accommodations for folks that were even absentee at the meeting,
I
right?
don't know if that's good news, but.
Okay, whatever it is, and, but it happened in advance, months in advance. I don't wanna do this as a one-off, I prefer to do it once a year.
And I really think we need to look at the number too. It's
I
just-
agree.
That gives us some time, if we just say, hey, we're not approving anybody else right now, let's see how we just talked about these new guidelines last month.
I agree.
Let's see how those go this year, we can look at the number, and I really think some sort of signage would help us, if we can get some of those illegally run people off the beach, we can truly see what the impact is.
Okay, so what's the process then? So we have people that are in our packet, so what do we do tonight then to say,
To postpone their approval and
Till
we'll
the
email them
Because we
tomorrow
gotta
and
fix the
say,
ordinance.
we're not approving anymore till council resolves these issues.
However, to TJ's point, the folks who were currently approved need to know about the signage rule.
Yeah, I'd like to get that.
Yeah, we
You
can
gotta
add
have
that,
that.
when that comes up, we can add something in there for that.
Would this be an appropriate time as one of those people to make a comment?
It is a work session, we don't generally allow public comment during the work session.
Okay. No, I mean, honestly, DJ, how does it feel to be agreed with for once?
It's amazing.
It's happened more than once.
special.
It hasn't happened with Bill in a long time.
All right, we're good on that one. All right, so next up for franchises. Chair and umbrella franchises. First of all, we have an ordinance up for second reading tonight that would expand the current allowance for wooden beach chairs to allow any weighted beach chairs to stay on the beach overnight. And I apologize, I just want to find the ordinance in the packet before I go further.
Yeah.
So, thank you to everyone who submitted comments about allowing beach chairs, wooden loungers, weighted chairs on the beach overnight. We've gotten a lot of public comment about it, so I hope folks who are listening at home, thank you. I encourage everyone to keep sending your comments. If you're here for the work session, stay over for the regular meeting so you can say those comments again for the record for everyone to hear it. That said, I have, I guess, the unfortunate role to provide a couple bits of important information. Chairs are already legal on the beach, so we got a lot of folks asking us, don't change the rules to allow chairs on Section 1. Chairs have been legal in Section 1 for a couple of years now. Section 1 has always extended from 3rd Street to 3rd Street. So any chairs that are on the beach overnight now, from the pier to 3rd Street in either direction, are legal. They have been legal. So the amendment that's in the packet was not a decision by council to suddenly allow chairs that were not allowed before. They were already allowed. Council was just debating whether those chairs could only be made of wood or they could be made of any weighted material. So we can't address the don't allow chairs on the beach because they're already allowed. Just want to make that sure, because some of the comment we got implied that chairs were not allowed, and just need to establish for the record that they are allowed. And so we have a ordinance that was presented to increase the types of chairs allowed, basically. It's a concept to broaden the exemption for beach chairs overnight. That passed first reading. We're at second reading now. So if council sees the feedback and would like to prohibit chairs on the beach overnight, that is their will, that's their prerogative, but they can't do it tonight at second reading of an ordinance that was actually going to broaden the types of chairs. That's a major change, and it would require a new ordinance. So best case, you could vote down this particular amendment, and then if you'd like to prohibit chairs on the beach, we'd have to come back as a second ordinance. It's just a procedural thing. Could be the best idea or the worst idea, but if it's the best idea, you can't go from first reading to allow multiple types of chairs to second reading to banning them all. You just can't make those kind of amendments between readings procedurally. And then the second question, you'll see on the agenda, there's an executive session later for council to receive some advice from our legal counsel related to this whole topic. Beach chairs on the beach overnight in Section 1 are legal. They were legal when we advertised the RFP to get new franchises. They were legal when those franchisees wrote their responses and submitted their bids to the city. They were legal when we wrote contracts that were signed and then later voted specifically on council. So up until now, our vendors have been operating in a situation where beach chairs overnight are legal. Contracts have been signed, the new franchise period is half a month into it. And so even again, if we want to remove chairs, there is a question is when we can make that effective. If we can just undo everything we've already committed ourselves through the legal process, all the way through contracts, midstream. So there will be some discussion about that tonight in executive session. We will definitely keep everyone posted. You'll know eventually, but I do just want to acknowledge out loud for everyone listening here and at home that it's not as simple as just deciding to stop the chairs on the beach after we've awarded businesses to folks who relied on that to plan their operations. So that's chairs on the beach. In your packet, we do have information from the Turtle Team. So related to the discussion, as we were talking about weighted chairs versus wooden chairs, council had some questions to kind of get an idea of what the scope of operations were. And we have reached out to both vendors to talk about I don't even wanna say voluntary limits, I wanna say what their plans were for the number of chairs, the location of chairs. And we've got that information, we've shared it with council, and generally speaking, no one at this time is planning to blanket the beach with chairs from the pier to Third Street. Both vendors have come back with relatively small numbers of chairs to be located in a relatively small area. That's a voluntary thing. They're not restricted by the ordinance, but right now, we don't know of any plans by any vendor to blanket the beach with chairs from end to end, wall to wall. And we will continue, obviously, to work with the vendors to nail down what exactly they're willing to kind of voluntarily do to minimize the impacts for turtles. And we got a lot of feedback about the turtles. The turtle team specifically sent us some information, which is in your packets, related to the number of nests and false crawls, the dangers of chairs. I can't speak to that, but I think we have some folks from the turtle team who are here tonight, who maybe answered questions about turtle activity in section 1, which is something you guys wanted to know about.
You want to come up?
Doesn't have to do with anything on the agenda.
Well,
During the,
it
and
goes
during
to
the
a-
work session?
Yeah, council specifically asked for information
So we
related to
can-
turtle activity.
We had a lot of discussion last time, do turtles that were nested a few years.
Yeah, I just needed to know that you could do
And
this
ju-
at work
and just,
session.
just for the record, this was asked for specifically by council during the discussion for weighted chairs. So just as we invited DHEC and septic tank experts, we invited our turtle team to come give you guys information about turtle activity.
Perfect.
Okay, I'm Vanessa Oldman. I guess y'all know me. I'm with the Folly Beach Turtle Team. I'm actually a section leader, and I have been asked to speak on behalf of the Folly Beach Turtle Watch Program and Dave Miller, who cannot be here at this time. We are permitted by South Carolina DNR, so every one of us are umbrella underneath that permit. What we are asking, which we understand, we totally understand, but to let you know the impact of the turtles, between Third West and Third East, we've had 81 turtle activities. In that 81, we've had 45 nests.
In 6 years.
So
So this
6
is
years,
not,
I'm
the
sorry.
2019
30
to
years we've been doing this is a whole lot more, but it's the last.
2019 to 2025, correct?
Right.
Correct.
Okay, we've had 45 nests and 31 false crawls. The false crawls are actually aborted nests that a mother can come up. I'm not blaming it on the chairs, it could be people, it could be dogs, it could be lights, we don't know, because we're not filmed. But we have had activity. Me, I'm on the east side. Between 110 and Third Block, in the past 3 years, I've had 15 nests. I've also had 3 misorientations from hatchlings. The misorientations when the hatchlings emerge and they come out of the nest, and these little hatchlings are trying to figure out where they are. They're supposed to go directly to the ocean, but what happens, unfortunately, lighting deters their actual where they're supposed to go. So my hatchlings, well, they weren't my hatchlings, but God's hatchlings, went towards the pier. If those chairs had been there, and I love my chair company, I love them guys, I do, I want them to know that. But if those chairs had been there, these guys are this big, I want y'all to know that, so they could get stuck in the chair and we'd never know it. And they could get injured, and worse, they can die.
And I'm Kristen, West Beach Court, and I'm the West Section leader, replacing Dave, who's also still staying online. He's our permit holder, and he's in Japan right now, so he couldn't be here, so we're speaking on his behalf. I didn't know if you wanted us to present information to you, or if you want us to wait for questions from you all.
If you have some information to share, please.
I will say just, in the number of nests that we've had and turtle activity, the aborted nests, that would have been about 9,000 hatchlings in just Third West to Third East. Between the false crawls that didn't become nests because a disturbance got in their way and they didn't end up nesting, and then the nests that we have had. So just thinking about, that many 81 mama turtles on the beach in that section. This morning there were 74 chairs. 74 chairs that were there overnight. Yesterday morning there were 74 chairs that were there overnight. That's all new on the east side. And I want to also say, we feel the same way. This is really about conservation, and it is, we love our vendors as well, the part of our community here. And I think the best outcome would be this year finding the best balance that we could possibly work together voluntarily, you know, pulling them in or doing something else would be the best outcome right now. But we do have activity there. And I also have unfortunately followed hundreds of tracks straight into section 1, and found many dead babies in there as well. I can't say whether it was the turtle, whether it was crabs, or whether it was, you know, heat, or whether it was chairs or what, but the point is they go there.
And that was the question I think that came up, so.
So I think the question, one of the things we're advocating for tonight, and I do understand the complications with the ordinance, that we're not asking to remove them yet. We are asking to remove them and find a way to try to do that. But, is adding more chairs, or adding different kinds of more chairs, just anything you can do to not add more and to mitigate the impacts of the chairs that are there, you know, in the middle of the night. And it's just our nesting season, which I know is our busy season, unfortunately, as a tourist community. Do you have questions for us?
We talk a little bit about the active surveillance system for the migration, how it happens. And again, I'm not an expert on this, but you say you really can't tell what happens, but there are deaths. So irrespective, it can be blamed on chairs, it can be blamed on anything. But is there some kind of a surveillance system where we know that chairs have created the issue? I just want.
We definitely experienced turtle tracks that have bumped into the chairs and turned around and aborted. We both personally,
And
all of our volunteers.
It's not only that, it's when people leave any kind of equipment on the beach.
Right.
I have seen a mama actually run into a tent. I have seen babies, matter of fact, last year, we had an emergence and I had babies in holes. Thank God, I was out there looking with my red flashlight, and I looked down and they're in holes and they can't get out. And then I found 2 more in a little tent. It was a baby tent that was left on the beach. So it isn't just, we're trying to make it to where these turtles, that's all they do. They come up, they lay eggs, and they could be 120 to 150 eggs, okay? And you're talking about a lot of babies, and only 1 in 1,000 make it to adulthood. So I want y'all to think about that. It's not a lot. It's not a lot at all. So we, as a community, I'd like for all of us to work together to make it more turtle friendly and make it to be able for the turtles to have a better chance. And like I said, right now, they're laying right there.
Are we
I mean,
unique? Are we unique at Folly compared to?
So far, this is the only
only one.
community in South Carolina, beach community, that still allows overnight equipment and chairs on the beach that we've discovered. We've talked to all the coastal communities. We've got 2 outstanding that we haven't spoken to, I guess. And so it's weird because this is a great community that is, actually this council in the city has done a great job with conservation, being forward, being a leader in it. So it's a weird thing that we've allowed. We didn't always allow it. I think it was behavior that was codified with law, as opposed to, it wasn't legal until a couple of years ago. It just happened. And so then it was sort of codified, and sadly, we weren't really paying attention, I guess, at the time, you know.
People from the turtle team were on council at the time, and they said that the certain area that we allowed them, there's a seawall behind it, and there was very minimal activity, did not stretch all the way to Third Block originally. It was just right in front of the hotel because of the large wooden chairs. That's how it started. I will say that our vendors have been very nice, and everything that we've read from them, they're willing to work with, you know, with whatever they need to do to stop these from happening. So I understand y'all's point, like Aaron said, there's nothing, we do not, we'll have to come back and look at it later, but they've been very accepting of, hey, let's work together. So hang in there, and everybody will work together to find the best solution for now. But you have to understand, you know, these other parameters, it's not that nobody cares about the turtles, it could be 100 other things that happen to those things as well. I mean, I'm a big turtle fan myself, and I think found something nice I'm gonna talk to those guys about and see what we can do to work it out, because where the pier is, and especially because it's our tourist season, you are always gonna have people down there all night long. You're always gonna have something in the way. When they used to move the wooden chairs, people would go down there and unstack them and put them around the beach wherever they wanted to hang out. So the chair vendor didn't do it. People would go grab their stuff and move it down and put it in the way. We can't stop all of it from happening. And really, if you look from the pier for the first 200 yards on either side, that's why there's not a whole lot of activity, because the turtles don't move around that either. Hopefully they go to the outside where it's safer, quieter, produce a better nest. We'd like to see that, but you're never gonna solve all those problems right there around the pier, and luckily there aren't as many nests. So we will work to find a way forward, everybody working together.
Yeah, actually, real quick, if you don't mind, the turtle activity in this section is less than the rest of the beach. That is a clear fact. Several things have changed. We didn't have chairs on the east side before, and we've had plenty of nests in that section. We also have done great as a community, as a city, And working with the county and with DOT, we now have turtle-friendly lights on the pier. Changes a lot of things. Turtle-friendly lights at all of the walkovers and in the parking lots. Changes a lot of things. So the deterrence of them is less now than it used to be. And then, I mean, hopefully they can lock up chairs or whatever. You know, there's other ways to, hopefully they steal their chairs anyway. But, yeah, that said, I agree with you. I know it's an interesting year.
It's a dynamic that we have to make sure everybody has the same access to the beach and enjoys it with everybody. And like I said, they're willing to work with you guys. I love it when everybody works together. We'll find something to definitely help for now and look at it going forward. I had in my nose to get rid of them off the beach this time around. And, you know, didn't work out that way, but next time I don't think, we already advertised it that way, so you can't go back on that once you do it. You know, you've already got people that have put out a lot of resources to make their franchise work. You can't just cut that off or we're gonna face lawsuits for sure. But we can find a way to compromise for now and then look at it going forward with the new lights you're talking about, and we get more activity, then next time we're the contractor, we don't have to have.
Do we have any?
But you have to give us some time.
Well, I can't speak for everyone on the council, but I can tell you that the off-site conversations that we've had, either one and Tuesdays at a time or whatever, we're all very, very supportive of the Turtle Watch and the Turtle teams and all of that. The amount of misinformation that gets posted out on Facebook, I'm not even a Facebook guy because all my years in the military, I wasn't allowed to have social media. So I call my grandson and go, what does this mean? But the amount of information that's out there that drives you down certain kinds of conclusions is a little scary for the fact-based that we're trying to get to here as well. We do recognize that the vendors are super important. They, in good faith, have bid to a franchise competitive process, which they were awarded, and as Aaron alluded to, they're meeting the expectations, but they've also all come back to us and said, tell us how we can work with you to make us as amicable as it can be for everybody. So we hear you. I certainly do. But I gotta tell you, you gotta take a grain of salt sometimes, everything you see on social media as being,
But you
my
said
goodness.
that's one of the things that I think I really wanted to say. I saw so much really, really upsetting misinformation. The turtles don't miss it, the turtles no activity, blah, 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 and it was really upsetting to see so much misinformation. Actually, I appreciate one of the vendors actually said if there's any evidence, I'll be happy to.
Well,
make
I
a change,
appreciate you
know.
putting the data together. That helps us make better decisions, so sure.
I would also say that all of us are available by phone and email anytime to set a meeting. I would ask that you refrain from certain people if you're working for another person. That's kind of disrespectful to go bother them there, but we're always available. I mean, set meetings and all that. I own my place, you can come bother me anytime and tell me what's going on. And like I told somebody earlier, tell me what your rumors are and I'll tell you what the truth is. Because like Skip said, there's so many rumors out there, and if you get, you know, heated about a rumor and go down that path, you're not looking at anything else. And that's what you think's the truth, and that's just not the case.
So while we're doing downstream due diligence on, let's say, rectifying a potential solution that would be long-term, is there a bridge conversation you're having with the current vendors, and have you run into any issues or obstacles in terms of being interested in being compliant?
Could we maybe
offer them an opportunity to come up and talk about what
And that's
their
what I was gonna
discussions
say,
mean?
I mean, they're in the room too, so.
I know, these are people,
These are people that you've already talked
trust me, this is
to.
what's awesome about community, is it's
Right.
literally
We're doing that one kind of offline.
That's not
The
my-
other thing is that just from our perspective, we're here tonight because
Maybe
Dave's
public
in
comment
Japan.
in the-
You're gonna hear from others tonight too in citizen comment, but the conversation needs to also be led with Dave Miller, who's our permit holder.
The only thing that I would like to say is the data is here, okay? I think it's amazing. I mean, I did try to map out things and try to figure out history and, you know, being from one when I came here 15 years ago and walked 6 years at both ends, you know, for the turtle team. So I think what I want to recognize is that vendors have contacted me to chat about the specific data, to make this work. So whatever process that is with the city, I mean, here we are. I don't know if it's, okay, so I've just been confirmed that there'll be some integration and moving forward to make this work. So, I mean, this is a great jumping off point because it's truthful, it's data driven, and now we can work together to share the space, whatever that may mean. And the only other component that I would say is the Tides has also been very supportive of the program. And that is where some of the misinformation was, that I read that it was Tides chairs and this and this, and it just went every which way to Sunday. And the Tides have been very active in supporting this. So now's an opportunity, I think, to have the stakeholders and to move forward.
Thank you so much for
We're
coming.
very fortunate you're here and supporting, being an advocate for these
Thank
folks.
you very much, we appreciate y'all very much. Thank you.
We've heard from all of you. We've heard from all.
We got 2 minutes.
So, we have, one more franchise related.
We got a few more things to clean up here, sorry.
So we have, one more franchise thing, and I think for time's sake, because this is also part of the franchise in the executive session, I do just want to introduce the idea publicly. Because we had such continuity in the previous franchises, the agreements that recently expired and were re-awarded initiated in 2018. So the previous beach chair and umbrella rental agreements were written in 2018, and they were based on section 151 of the code, which no longer exists. And in section 151, the language for section 2 said beach chair delivery is allowed in section 2. That's what the contract said, and it's been in place this whole time. Since then, chapter 151 was repealed and replaced completely with chapter 118. Chapter 118 says beach chair and umbrella rentals are allowed in section 1 and section 2. There's a subtle but important difference between that. The previous code, where the previous agreements included, said only delivery in section 2. The new code, which was adopted in late 2019, says beach chair and umbrella rentals are allowed in section 1 and section 2. So the question becomes, was it council's intent to purposefully exclude or include on-site rentals in section 2? Or was the language beach chair and umbrella rentals meant to carry forward the requirement that they only be delivered in section 2? And so we will adjourn to executive session later to get some more on that, but I just wanted publicly to know that that is a study issue that's been identified post-award on kind of the same concept. The language in the ordinance today says beach chair and umbrella rentals are allowed in section 1 and section 2. The contracts say beach chair and umbrella rentals are allowed in section 1 and section 2. So depending on council's will in terms of delivery, we may be in the same situation we are in the last thing, is that these contracts are signed, this is what the language is. What did it mean at the time they were signed? And I just felt it was important to say that publicly, so everyone knows that's something else we're looking at related to the franchise ordinances, and we're gonna go talk about that at the regular meeting.
All right, we got 6 minutes.